Hello, everyone. We are live yet again, and this is my author's chat of the weekend. And yes, I have been doing double duty of these just because the holidays are coming and I'm going to be taking off a couple weeks, but I did want to get a few chats in because I always like to share them, if possible, on my YouTube channel later on, and I space them out, so it just allows me to kind of upfront some of that and also get to talk with all these fantastic fellow authors. And so as I wait for this wonderful live function to kind of send out the notifications that I'm up and running, I'm going to be rambling for a little bit as I keep an eye out as well for my co-host of the weekend. But I hope everybody's weekend's been doing fantastic. I have been getting over with a stomach flu of some sorts. So it's been my weekend hasn't been that great, but I've survived. And I am here, and I am finally drinking coffee again, which is life for me, so that's a good thing. That means things are turning out. But, if I'm a little off, that is why. I'm just getting over the hump, and hopefully that will be the last time I get sick before the holidays. Or the end of the year, or all the above. But yeah, we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. Since this is book talk, and that's what I love to do. I'm a epic fantasy author for anybody who does not know, and so these are some examples of my books behind me. And I've been scrambling around this week, just getting everything ready to go on quote-unquote holiday mode. I've just put because I've recently started selling direct, but I put my bookshop on vacation mode essentially until the new year, so was kind of a weird experience because I just opened it and flipping over to vacation mode within a month span was kind of strange. It's necessary. We must take off time. Hello.
Hello. Get all sorted out here. There. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I have to adjust my volume because I always have it low because when I'm doing posts, I'm always around other people and I don't want to go bing, 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 bing all the time, so figured that out. But I'm so glad we got to meet up today. We haven't talked in, I don't know, it's been like almost a year, a little over a year.
It's been a couple months.
It's been a moment. I actually was thinking about it because you published so quickly. I don't know if there's been 5 or 6 books, because I don't remember if it was after the first book or right after the second one when we talked last. And you have 7 out right now? Or more than
8.
that?
8 books out.
8? Okay, okay. So it's been a moment. You publish so fast.
Yeah, well, the first 7 books in the main series is what I've been calling. What I've been publishing, the Silver Locket books, I had the first 6 written before I published book 1.
That's smart.
So it was all just like every 3 months I sent another one to my editor and we edited it and put it out. And then while I was publishing those 6, I wrote book 7, 3 books in the new series, which is the Origins series, and then a Portal Fantasy that's coming out this fall.
Portal Fantasy.
So I've got a lot going on. I have I wrote like 6 books last year that are still in the lineup, like that I haven't even slotted to publish yet. So I'm going to be doing this every 3 months for a while.
I know, that's great. That is great. I'm always playing around with like how long my book should be versus short or whatever. And so my full lengths are on the longer side of things. Yeah, that's why I do a novella series to kind of flesh things out. And going forward, I think I'm going to challenge myself to kind of find a sweet spot in between, depending on the book. Obviously, I don't want to cut any stories short, but again, it's nice to be able to publish reliably. I think readers like reliability, but obviously authors, if you need 3 years to publish a book and make it do well, do that. But I'm still kind of working on that, and so I'm kind of with you where I have a lot of books and novellas already written. They just haven't gone through various stages of editing or,
they're just like not ready for prime time yet.
I'm working on like brainstorming books that won't even be released for 2025 at this point. But
yeah,
here I am. Is like I'm writing books right now that won't see the light of day for years. It's strange, very strange.
Yes, it is, and it's funny how things jump ahead in line too. Like I was writing Origins, which is a prequel series to the main series, but definitely stands on its own. And so I had those slotted. So like book 1 came out, and then book 2 and book 3 come out in spring 2024. And then I was going to do like a spin-off series, and it was going to be like new characters, same world. And then I wrote this portal fantasy, and I was like, no, that's coming next. Then
See, now you're going to be like me and start releasing multiple series simultaneously and starting to do that juggle. And that juggle's it takes a moment sometimes, because there's that weird switch when you publish one book and then all of a sudden you're trying to work on a project of totally different characters. And if I'm working and I'm like reading aloud or something, and just, the editing process of a book, I'll realize I'm flipping characters' names that are from the other series automatically, because it's like, I just was working on that, and it's just a weird switch over. I don't know for you how hard or easy it is from jumping from one book of one series to another series completely when you're trying to flip back and forth.
yeah, it usually takes me a little bit. What's nice is the Portal Fantasy is a standalone and is like completely different than anything I've written before. So it's a historical portal fantasy. It takes place in 1870 Tennessee and feels so different than what I write in the pirate books, my Silver Locket series. And then the other series that I have that I've written the first book in, and it's the longest book I've ever written at about 150,000 words. And it's going to be at least a duology. But that first book is set in like medieval Europe. And so same kind of feel, like they're all such different like characters, different ways of speaking, different things that are happening, that I don't usually have much trouble bouncing from one for the other, but there's usually a chapter or two where I'm like, where am I? What am I writing?
No, I love that. And that brings to a great point, because I base a lot of my stuff off like mythology, but you love like certain niche areas of history.
Yes.
And so, what drew you to these two new eras of history, the medieval, and then you said the 1980s?
1870s.
I don't know why I said 1980. I was like, that's really new. Okay, 1870.
Well, the Portal Fantasy, okay, it didn't write itself. I feel like it wrote itself. In that my daughter had this massive brain tumor, huge medical catastrophe last December, almost exactly a year ago. And we spent weeks in the ICU, and without really meaning to, I started writing this portal fantasy, and it takes place in Tennessee because I love Tennessee. We moved here a little over a year ago, and I've lived in a lot of different places. This is the first place I've lived in where it's like, wow, it's really special here. Like, I finally understand those people who buy bumper stickers that are like, born and bred, and I love it here, and I'm never leaving. And like, that's how I feel about Tennessee. And so it started out as a love letter to Tennessee and the history that I'm learning here. I live like less than a block from a historical battlefield. And so I go on lots of walks and lots of hikes where like my son and I will go into old like battlefields and read all the plaques, or we'll go into old cemeteries and see a lot of Civil War history. And so it started out as that. I wanted to write a story with that as the central theme. And then the portal fantasy, she goes into the woods with her 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old points towards lights in the woods that she can't see. And when she turns, all of a sudden, when she turns back to the little girl after looking for the lights, the girl is looking down, and the mother is standing at this mother's feet, and she can't be seen anymore. And the little girl's going, "Look, Mom, there's another light." And Odell, our main character, stands up and turns and says, "I don't see any lights." And then they leave the woods, and Odell is left to watch her daughter and this specter of her leave the woods, and she has to find a way to get out of what is called the thicket. And the thicket, without meaning to, was the ICU. And so it is just this whole exploration of motherhood and being trapped somewhere and feeling like you're helpless to help somebody who is out of your reach. And it really did just kind of out of me as this really emotional, personal piece. And I'm actually working on the second draft of it right now and sending it to my beta reader as I go. And my beta reader's just like, this is big, this is special, this is deep and painful. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And it felt really healing to write it and be like, other people are going to read this and see themselves in it, I think.
And that's a powerful thing about writing stories, because writing is a way of kind of coping with something or learning to understand or expressing an experience that you've dealt with is something that's very powerful and can reach other people who've dealt with something similar. And that, again, we write to connect with, it could be just deeper inside us, but with other people you want to connect in some way. And for a story that has such a profound, deep quality to it, I bet you're going to get a lot of readers who are just going to be very emotionally connected to that story.
Yeah, I think anybody who has ever wanted to help somebody that they had zero ability to help is going to be able to read that book and think and see themselves in it and understand everything that I am talking about. And that's how I wrote the Silver Locket books too, is I really, you write these things and they're difficult topics and people read them all the time and reach out to me and say, I really appreciate that you wrote that in the way it hurt. And that's how that Portal Fantasy keeps feeling, is I keep coming to things and thinking, I don't want to write that. And then I write it anyway in the way that hurts the most. Because when things hurt, it's usually important.
Yeah. And again, it helps heal.
Yes.
It's the healing process. And you never know, you may actually help a bunch of other people go through the healing process that have been struggling with it. So, be prepared.
Yeah. I'm ready.
But that's fantastic. Is that something you said you were going to release earlier than you thought? So is that something 2024 or?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have it out by fall of 2024 because it takes place in autumn in Tennessee and definitely has it dips its toes into horror. Definitely has some spookier vibes to it. I think that it'll do really well in the fall.
Love that. Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. How do you feel about being done with was it 7-book series?
Yeah.
I'll admit, when I finished my first series, it was that kind of a bittersweet moment because, at least for me, because I was ending that series, for those characters, it was kind of a hard goodbye. So it was kind of sad as well as excited because I completed a series. Yeah. And I had to tell this fantastic story, and now I'm able to do and move on to other stories. But how did you feel about completing?
Bittersweet, definitely. Same thing, they become your friends.
Yes.
You get to a point where you know them better than you know people in real life. I know how they respond to things. I know where they're going to be, what they're thinking. So that was hard to let go of these characters where I knew that I could write a Silver Locket book in 3 weeks because it was just I knew them inside and out, backwards and front ways. I knew the map. I knew where they were going. I knew what each town they stopped in looked like. That was bitter. And it was also sweet that so many people were excited for book 7. So many people had been collecting my books over time and hadn't started them until book 7 released so that they could read them all in a weekend. And then also almost a little bit of fear because it's well, now what? Will anything live up to that? Will people enjoy the next thing I do as much? Will it connect with enough people, etc. So there was this for a moment, about 3 weeks after the build up toward book 7, and then after book 7, it was maybe I'm done. Maybe I don't need to release anything else. This kind of serious imposter feeling of does anything else that I ever write, will it stand up to what I've created in this? And then I kind of, bucked up about it. And it's time to get writing. And then I did. So.
And the nice thing about the prequel series is you're still working within the same world. So you have a fan base already who's probably not ready to kind of like you to say totally goodbye to that world. And so I think that always does, helps. At least it helps, when you choose to write within a world that you've spent all this time developing, all these characters, the map, as you said, and you already have a fan base. It's harder to jump fresh, and I always jump fresh. Every time I write something, it's totally different, and it's very, very different. And so it feels like predominantly starting from scratch. You're always going to have your super fans that are going to jump whatever you're going to do. They're like, we're ready. You write it, we buy it. But it's a little harder and a little more nerve-wracking when you're starting a new genre or new subgenre or, totally new story. And it's kind of like, will anybody try it? Will anybody give it the time of day? I hope so.
Yes, that's how I feel a little bit about the Portal Fantasy, but also excited because all the people who were like, yeah, Kennedy seems like a nice person, but I'm not into pirates. I'm going to be like, but are you into Portal Fantasy? It has a heavy romantic subplot and explores motherhood. Are you ready? I'm excited to reach new people too, to post that video one day and say, I'm looking for ARC signups. Who wants this book? And for people to be as excited about it as I am. And, just kind of, maybe I'll reach new people because I definitely have my people, my Silver Locket people.
And that is the pro of going a little wide, is because, exactly, you will reach new people because there are definitely going to be people who are very obstinate of this is what I like and those are the things I don't like. So you sound really cool, but it's just not my cup of tea and I'm going to just whatever. And you're like, but I have this. And they're like, wait, hold on.
Yeah. And also...
Tell me more. I want to hear.
and people talk about, changing pen names and that sort of thing. The Silver Locket books are a romance at their very core. It's like I call it a tragic romance. It has a happily ever after, but not until the end of book 7. But definitely a romance at its core, whereas the Portal Fantasy I'm writing is not. It has a romantic subplot. It has a wife trying to get back to her husband, that sort of thing. But it doesn't have it's not a romance. Yep. And so I know that the people who read the Silver Locket books are going to like it no matter what, because it's a Kennedy Sutton book. And when you open it and read it, you will feel Kennedy Sutton inside of it. I have a very distinct style of what I'm going for and the emotions that I am pulling from people. But I'm hoping that some people who are like, oh, I don't read romance will be like, ooh, Portal Fantasy, so it's exciting.
It is, and I'm working on my first standalone, and it's very different from my epic fantasy. It still has fantasy elements, but it's the first time I'm playing with multiple points of view. It has a romance forward storyline, but it's not spicy by any means. But it's, that's a forefront theme versus my other books that, there's romance subplots, but it's not the main thing. I'm more questing in the adventure and, the journey and all that and the other series. So it's different enough where I've also started debating, should I use a pen name for the standalone? But how much work does it is to brand a pen name? Or should I just use my name and be like, but this is very different. It's still going to be me. There's still going to be, you're going to still have, there's going to be a battle scene. There's going to be, the fun action as well. But it is very different from the other vibes that I write. So it's something I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, and I was talking to another author about this the other day because she was kind of bringing up the same thing. It's at what point do you need to have a different pen name? And I personally, and maybe a lot of people would disagree with me, but I personally believe that as long as you're writing for the same age group, we're all adults, make your cover obvious what the book is, make the blurb very clear, put it in the right genres, and people are going to be able to make their own decision of whether they want to read it. If you're writing a children's book and in a spicy romance, then you should have a different pen name. But if one's spicy and one's not spicy and one's contemporary and one's fantasy, I'm not a whatever.
But that's the thing. It's I have my name for all epic fantasy, but they range from young adult, new adult, and adult. So I started the arc of the umbrella of epic fantasy, so that's why I'm like, well, now I'm going to be doing a romantasy essentially. Should I do a new pen name because I'm branching that way? So who knows?
Yeah.
Again, doesn't mean what I did is the smartest choice, but that's the choice I made.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like Sarah J. Maas, for example. She has like a YA series and then kind of like a spicier NA series, and I don't think that matters too much. I guess it depends on how YA we're talking. Like a 17-year-old reading your book versus a 30-year-old reading your book isn't as much of a difference as a 13-year-old and a 30-year-old.
That's true. That is very true. That is very true. Oh man. So how has your year being out as, publishing so many times, building your platform, how have you enjoyed this past year, for the publishing side of things and being able to connect with other readers? I know that's a very long question.
That's a good question. This was my first year where I really felt like an author. Because I published so fast, I published a lot of books in a really short amount of time. I went from not being an author to being an author with 8 books out in a year and a half. Maybe a little less than that, like a year and 4 months. And by next year, I will have 12 books out. And by the year after that, I'll have 16 books out. And just because I sort of discovered what I wanted to do, I started writing. I've gotten very good at it and very fast at it. But this was the first year that I was like, I guess I should do author stuff. And so I've been tinkering with with marketing. I've been trying to sign up for events and going to more events. Though I am a little bit hindered in that regard because I have very small children. So it's like events that are nearby and only last 1 or 2 days, have to be a little more choosy. But this was the first year that I went to events and I met people in person and found out that I was actually very good at that, talking to readers in person and getting them interested in my books and in me. I've really enjoyed trying to tinker with marketing and what works and what my readers want to see and how to do ads in like a small way. I haven't really jumped into that yet. I'd like to, but
That's a tough one though.
yeah, it does kind of feel like throwing money into a pit and hoping that some comes back. So I'm afraid to start.
I am not good at ads, true ads. I've tried many things. I've taken many courses, and the funny thing is, every so often I'll try and try and try, and then I'll get something and it works very, very well. But there's only a certain amount of time because either algorithms change or you've tapped out that particular niche market, and then you have to do something again. And I'm at that stage where I'm just throwing things at the wall again because I'm like, well, I don't know. So that's not my skill. I can't help you with advertising. I can let you know that one for sure. But I've been trying different things this year too. Like my first Kickstarter was in the beginning of the year, just trying to see how crowdfunding would work for helping upfront some of the costs it takes, because publishing costs a lot of money.
Yes.
And just recently started doing direct sales. So those are my two big changes, but were a lot of fun. But I haven't done a lot of face-to-face events in a long time, so I'm glad you're doing them. And do you do like the whole banner thing, or how do you set up?
I do. I last year was my first one. I did Sinful Signings in Roanoke, Virginia, and they're coming back next year, and I will be there again. And super fun group of folks. And I did the whole table. Unfortunately, because I have so many books out, there's less in the way of like table decor I can do, because it's like, how many books fit on a 6-foot table? Well, here's all my books. And so my table was basically me, a space to sign books in, and then books. And next year I'll probably have to do books plus some elevation for more books. And then I had like a banner to the right.
Little mobile bookshelf kind of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one of those little ones like they have in classrooms, like for little kids, where it just like displays them like this, put it to the side of the table.
Or I don't know if they have one for books, but kind of like one of those. What do you call it? I'm blanking right now. But the ones that spin and they have like different sides, so that you can
like,
just
like a
yeah,
spinning brochure rack
like
for
so you
pirate
can have
lovers.
like the different books around there.
I'm in. It's like a lazy Susan of books.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I love that. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is like when you're there to talk about books. So books are most important. The cute stuff is additive. So if you have the space, great. If not, if you want to dress up to kind of dress and think cool, but uh, you're there for the book. So make sure your books have space.
Yes, that's the important thing.
Oh
Yeah, I'm not a big, it's like I have books and I have bookmarks, and there were some people where it was like they were selling merch and they had all these different things that they were doing, and it was just like, yeah, it's just me and books.
well, I could see this for you. I don't know how you would find one to make it affordable, but like have something because I've seen this work for people and people swear by it. Is have like a special gift that if they buy the whole series, you get a gift, and like have like a row of silver lockets, and
Yeah.
and be like, you get a silver locket if you buy the 7 book series, and whoop, and just have a couple of those out there just to show as an example, and just put it in the little bag when you sell it, and a little bonus trait. Encourage them.
Yeah. Mine was character art. I used my character art that way. It's
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
if you get 3 or more of the books, then you get character art with each of the books. And because I sort of have a piece of character art for each book now. So it's like I
Ooh,
have 7, and each one's kind of like a character or a set of characters that premiere in those books. So
I like that. Very smart.
I
I
need
have
to
to
start talking more about my character art.
yes, do that. You should post some videos of like examples of your character art and stuff like that because like that's something I need to do more of is get more character art and it's also trying to fund it. But I do want more of it because I've only invested in one of my series, but I feel like it would be nice to kind of expand some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Hey there, I see a comment popping up saying how crazy I came to this live, and then Kennedy's book shows up at my door. So voila, timing is everything.
Voila.
I love that. Well, hopefully you enjoy whichever one you got.
Yes,
But
definitely. And tell me what you think and leave a review.
yes, oh, that's one of those things. Is I saw someone post be like, you know what I want for Christmas? A review. What everybody should gift an author for Christmas? A
Please
review.
go review their books. I always feel like I'm breaching into reader spaces if I even ask. And so like I pester my ARC readers a lot about reviews. Like y'all signed up for a free book to review this book, so go review it.
That's kind of,
Um but like when people are just like, I read your book and I really loved it, I'm like, am I allowed to tell you to go review it? Please go review it.
yeah, I don't necessarily go and tell like the specific person, but every so often it's not bad. Like I'll do like a post and say, hey, did you know? And say like just explain why it's important. Not only it looks cool, but like it helps us get book promotions, which helps get our word of our book out there. So if you like our book and want to help support us, that's a big thing and helps us concentrate on our writing and not have to market as much if people see reviews. If you explain the why and in general post it, I think those are smart things to do because it's kind of like people are like, but why does it matter? I'm like, well, I have this about
it's the best free advertising we've got.
yes, exactly. So a great free way to help an author out. Leave a review.
Mundy's talking about Silver Locket Origins. I am pushing that book really hard because book 2 and book 3 come out next.
Yay!
And so that's a glorious mess. I'm also doing a thing right now where if somebody buys a glorious mess, all of the royalties are being donated to the hospital that saved my daughter. But definitely pushing that one.
Yes, and yes, I did see you post about that. So yeah, definitely talk about that. And don't ever forget to mention things like that.
Yeah, since we're on live and there's 9 of you here, there's
hey, people pop
if you buy Silver Locket Origins, my standalone series that centers around a character in my main series, Mickey Compton and Hugh Digby. Right now, all of the royalties to that are being donated to Monroe Carroll Jr.'s Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. They're the ones they do phenomenal work, and they're a nonprofit. and I run a lot of different fundraisers for them throughout the year, where it's just like a little bit here, a little bit there, because um, they help so many children. They save so many lives. Everybody there is phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing how many hospitals I've been to where you have so many, complaints. And everybody who works at this hospital is just top tier. They were the only people in the entire state of Tennessee who could save my daughter, and they did. And I just cannot say enough good things about them. And then after we were done being in the ICU for 4 weeks, uh, we had this massive bill because even with our really good insurance, Vanderbilt, the only hospital who could help, was out of network. And so they only covered 80%. And then we had like a $50,000 bill, and they covered almost all of it. And it was just through charitable funds. So I'm always trying to you know, get them some more charitable funds so that they can help more families.
That's fantastic. And that's when, again, the power of writing. You write a book and you did, you never knew that it could be a means to help support other things that are you're passionate about, and other ways to help other people in genuine, powerful ways. And fundraising for something like a children's hospital is amazing cause. So
yes, they're really. I could go on a tangent forever. My soapbox is like people who save babies with brain tumors, and they're one of them.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad that's going on. How long is that running, by the way, for people?
Throughout December. So all the royalties I make on that book for all of December, I'm donating.
And let me ask then, because this is perfect timing, where can people find your book to get it?
Okay, well, you can find A Glorious Mess right now only on Amazon. I am out of signed copies, but they should be back in stock by next week. All of my other books you can find on Amazon. You can also find them at my Etsy shop, and they're also on my TikTok shop, which usually has free shipping and a sale going on. And that's usually the best place to buy them.
Fantastic. Yes, I'm just getting into that whole TikTok shop thing, and again, I'm on pause now as of today through the end of the year because I'm about to be traveling for a holiday, and I could not fathom lugging all the books around because that shop, you have to send it out pretty quickly. You have to be on it. So that's what I was thinking about, how am I going to do this? I was like, nope, vacation mode.
Yeah, just wait until the new year.
We'll be back.
I'm still on the fence about TikTok shop. I've been impressed with them as far as communication with me as a seller and communication with people who are buyers. I had a kind of a shipping mishap where the box got destroyed. The books never arrived. Just like an empty box arrived from USPS. And TikTok not only reimbursed them for the books that didn't arrive, but also reimbursed me for the cost of what I lost. And I was just like, this is pretty cool. Nobody else would do that. So I was pretty impressed with them, but I haven't decided if it's worth my while to keep two shops going. And I also think 2024 is going to be my year for opening up my own website shop. Yes. So that's on the ticket. That's on my proverbial murder board for 2024 is I'm going to come up with because I didn't the first year because it was how am I going to sell enough books to pay for the website that can do the selling, and because it costs more money to do that. But this year I think it would be worth my while to do.
And so what I did, and this is just, again, I was trying to figure out all the different ways to do it. Could I function and just run my own personal shop directly through my website, or how I did that? So what I ended up choosing after a few trial and error, this is just, again, you do whatever's right for you, but I opened a Shopify, and so I have a button, my shop button on my website takes you to the Shopify, and because Shopify syncs with TikTok, anytime someone sells something through TikTok, it adjusts accordingly on Shopify. So I'm really only managing one shop. Now, buy through Shopify, I have to route, shipping differently. Shopify does not cover shipping, so I have to, pay for it. But that's what book mail is for, which is fantastic. So, it's still a little bit of a juggle, but I do like the fact that I now just have to have one stock labeled on Shopify, and it's automatically whatever TikTok shop approves, because it doesn't approve all my options, because some of my options are not exactly bookish, but I mean they're bookish, but they're not my books. Or
Yeah.
they don't let you sell ebooks, but I actually sell ebooks through my Shopify, but not through TikTok Shop. It's a little complicated in that sense, but like it's nice that I have to only manage one and
Yeah.
it's that way. And so far I've enjoyed it, but it's only been a few weeks, and I'll be on pause, and then I'll try again next year and see if I still like it or if I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
It is. And that's why people have started reaching out to me. The more people know about me, about like getting my books into bookstores and that sort of thing. And as a KU author, I've mostly just been on Amazon. I've sold my ebooks on Kindle and nowhere else. And I don't think I'm ready to jump out of Kindle Unlimited yet, though that's not off
It's
the table. But I have to. I've been thinking about doing my paperback books and my hardback books through Ingram so that stores can stock them beyond just like me or Amazon. So that's on my roster too.
Yep,
It's
that's my goal for next year is trying to take my print books wide and my ebooks wide, because I did pull out a KU because it was working for me and it did pay the bills for a while, but then there was earlier on this year when we all know the whole thing about like the payout and all this stuff, and I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what, I would prefer to take control of it and not be have the risk of ever getting kicked out because piracy and all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. Worst case, I can always go back.
always go back.
But so I'm testing it out, but still baby steps. The next stage will be taking it wide through Ingram Sparks and Kobo and Nook and all that kind of stuff, at least. And see, crossing fingers.
Yeah, yeah. At the very least, see.
Yeah, and you'll be able to reach again more readers, because there are definitely going to be people who don't want to support the big box, Zon company. And I have a lot of people asking me like, "Can you sell it anywhere else? We really just don't want to buy through them." And I'm like, "I have direct now. Come buy from me.
Come buy it from me.
Sign it and give you some stickers and wrap it, and you'll like it."
I always tell people buying direct from authors is such a better deal for everybody. Like, I can sell it to you for cheaper because I'm making all of the money. I can give you free goodies. I can do all of these things. Like, I had somebody reach out to me about ordering my whole series and having me ship them to New Zealand. And like specifically wanted them signed. And I went and looked at all the different shipping options, all these different things. And I was like, okay, shipping's going to cost $64. I was like, but I can take $64 off the cost of the whole series and still make a profit. And I did that. And she was cool with it because like it ended up costing the same, because it was just like, I can do that. Whereas on Amazon, it's like, yeah, they're $16.99 and I make $4, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And from my own shop, it's like, yeah, they're $16.99, but I make $11, so we have some working room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and that's the thing is like for me, I've seen authors, and again, when they have shops, some of them have cheaper prices just across the board. Other people's will do a lot of fun sales, but again, have like the price competitive, but then do a lot of sales, because again, the point being is, yes, if we can sell direct, it gives us a chance to finally earn what we're supposed to be earning, by the way. At least that's right. Because I'm the writer side of things, but also it does allow us to give you, again, a lot of goodies, a lot of special TLC for the book and the love and, personalization and all, whatever, but it's a lot of fun. I do see a comment saying it's not so easy to handle writing and the shops, but it's worth trying to have your own shop. And I think that's a thing a lot of authors are trying. Probably it won't stick for everyone. Some people will be like, it's not for me, and that's fine. But having that option for everybody that, we can be empowered and sell direct in a variety of means is really cool to at least know that's possible.
Yeah.
At least we have that opportunity.
I love selling direct. It's one of my favorite parts of the job, is being able to like sign the books and add special touches to the books. I had somebody the other week, and they lived on a road, and I'm not going to say the name of the road, because that'd probably be fine, but still, but their name of the road had like nautical beginnings, and it was a history that a lot of people didn't know. And so I wrote out the whole history of like their road and where it came from and what that word meant and like all these different things about it, and then just popped it into the book and shipped it off. And they were just so excited when they got it because I'm full of fun ship facts.
You know what? Here's an idea. I love ideas. You never have to take them, but I love these ideas. You should come out with cute little cards of fun little nautical terms or things that you can just like add, have them pre-printed and have a variety, maybe like a set of 5 like options that you can do, and periodically you can like stick this one in to your books and be like, here's some fun little terms or did you know questions, and just a little thing you can print out.
That's a great idea.
In there, and again, it's that extra little bonus that people get, and they're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea for book signings too. Just like have them up, see if people want to like learn something. Come to my table. Let me tell you about my pirate romantasy.
I love that. And but yes, I just love the fun things that people can come up with, like outside of the box ideas. And like for me, one of the things I do is now I've rekindled my love of origami, which sounds really weird, but I'm making origami items that relate to fantasy. So like sword and sheath, or I just figured out a fold for a longship for my Viking series. So, stuff like that. So I can tuck them in the box and be like, here's your little item. By the author.
I love it. That's exciting. Yeah, I do. I think people really like those things too.
Oh yeah.
Little personal touches.
Oh yeah.
I had people ask me for doodles when I signed their books, and now it's kind of become a thing in my Facebook group, which all 9 of you should join my Facebook group, Kennedy Sutton Silver Locket Crew. We're a blast. It's a real fun group of people, and one of the people who always orders signed books for me always asks for a doodle. And at first I was like, what am I supposed to doodle? And I've grown much bolder. It went from like anchors and ships and fish to like I'll draw a whole character with like a little peg leg and an eye patch, and I'm like, oh no, it's stereotype Steve. Like people get really excited about my doodles.
It's so much fun. Yeah, I have someone who has recently started buying direct, and was one of the requests I've received multiple times now is, can you write something in runes? Because my Viking Dark Fantasy series, and he was like, can you write something in runes? So I like come up with like a little sentiment or something, and we'll see if it's translated at all. But it's fun. It's fun to do those things. I do see the comment saying I'm an artist and it's so overwhelming to owning a shop, but so satisfying as well. And another comment saying, join her group, guys.
I'm a blast. I always tried to tell people, because Facebook's kind of become the old person group, and I haven't learned how to manage like Discord or any of those yet. And I pop in every day and have something fun to say, whether I'm talking about like the history of shoes or posting memes. Like every single day I have something going on, and like it's a real active reader group full of great people, and they also post, and it's a lot of fun. I've had a couple authors recently kind of bemoan their dead author groups where no one participates, and I'm like, can't relate. I have 160 people who are just the most fun people ever.
Fantastic. Yeah, one of the things that I started doing, again, trying new things, and I'm coming up, it's the first time in a long time where I'm coming up with a very vague idea of a future series, but again, setting out for like probably 2025, maybe 26, again, far in advance. But was coming up with an idea, and I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to do something a little different. Instead of basing off like mythological entities, we're going to make our own monster. And I had my group come through a process of creating a monster. And so they had to figure out like, what is the ecosystem? How does it think? Is it a pack animal, individual? Is it self-aware? Is it hive mind? What does it look like? And so we developed a monster. And so the kicker was, once that we created our little creature, and I was like, perfect. So I'm going to put this in my future series and make sure all, this group's noted for helping me create this creature for my future series. But I'm also going to write you a special short story. So I just finished releasing a special short story, and because it was a sea creature, I gotta put a tall ship in it.
Yes!
But yeah, so it was a lot of fun being able to and I just recently gifted out their free short story of the monster they created that will be incorporate it in a future book series, but it was just a fun group activity, and you can make it a lot of fun if you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. And oh, thank you. Sorry, I just saw the compliment. Ugh, okay. Um, Before I forget, because we're rounding the hour, and hours always go fast. I feel like when we do.
Yes.
So we've already talked about where we can find your book. Where else can people find and follow you? Obviously, you have a readers group. What is the name of the group again? Just make sure everybody knows. And where else?
Kennedy Sutton Silver Locket Crew.
Yay!
Yay!
And where else can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk and your readers group?
You can find me on Instagram. I am author Kennedy Sutton there. I do have a website, kennedysutton.com. I'm on Goodreads as Kennedy Sutton. And that's about it. Those are the big ones. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Goodreads.
That's fantastic. And that's the thing is also, do you have a newsletter? Because I always want to make sure if people have that opportunity, if they want to, if you don't, that's fine. You're not the only one who doesn't. I always like to ask.
I do, and I always forget about it. I have a newsletter. You won't hear from me unless I have a release going on or like something free happening. And so I always want to warn people, like I'm not sending one out every 2 weeks. You're not going to hear about me and my dog or anything else that's going on. But my newsletter does keep you up to date on what I'm writing, what I have written, where you can get it. Here are the links. I write a lot of free short stories for my group, lost chapters, things like that go out in my newsletter. And there is a link to that newsletter in my Schlyo on my page.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay. I always want to make sure I ask those things because, again, when people don't realize if everything goes sideways,
Yes.
newsletters are one of those things that's like that direct link between an author and their reader. And so if for whatever reason authors get kicked off or a platform disappears, links out of existence,
Yes.
it's still a way you can find, follow, and be in the know and know where they're jumping next. Because
Yes.
and that's why
Yeah, and that's so true. And at first I was like, I really bought into the newsletter thing that people, I wanted to get lots of people joining my newsletter and sending things out on a regular basis and staying in contact. And it's kind of become this thing where it's like, I have a new release and here's what it's about and you can find it here. And then I just kind of leave people alone because I joined so many newsletters and you get them all the time and nobody reads them. And so it's just like, I just won't pester people unless I'm giving something to them.
That's a very, very good thing. Like for me, I like consistency, but I'm a creature of habit, so I try to do it monthly. I'm also trying to publish more, so, hopefully almost half of them are a release. Theoretically, in my mind, hopefully, going forward. But yeah, I try not to like overburden it. But there are occasions where I'll put 2 out a month because when I'm converting things to audio, and audio releases whenever it's ready. That's the rule of audiobooks that I've discovered. So those are the times when you see something extra. It's kind of like, oh, by the way, this audiobook that just released, in case you're an audiobook person, that's out there now. And keep it very short and sweet, and that's the only point of that particular bonus release one. But yeah, you don't have to like burden people with newsletters and be like, there are definitely people who release them weekly, and I'm like, why? Also, how do you have the energy?
Yeah. Where do you find the time?
Time's important.
Yeah. No, and I because I release every 90 days, I feel like once a release, it's not like you're never hearing from me. 4 times a year, you'll get a newsletter.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's consistency. And so if people that are ready, they're like, it's about that time. I'm sure there's a new release coming out, as long as they, expect it and it's not like bombarding. Because yes, we all have probably signed up for maybe too many at times. I know.
Especially when, you run in author circles, these authors are your friends, you want to support them, so you sign up for the newsletter, and then it's like, oh, or you do a newsletter swap, and then you end up with like 16 people you swapped with, and you're a part of their newsletter.
Yep. I understand. It's part of the game. No, but it's part of the thing, and it's a good thing to learn too. It's like when you're starting out and you don't know what to even talk about, sign up for a bunch of people's newsletters, see what they're saying, figure out what you like to do and what you don't like to do, what you feel like this is awesome and what you feel like, wait, that's a little too much, man.
Yeah.
But it's a learning thing. It's a learning thing. But yeah. Let me ask you and our listeners at the moment, because we have 10 minutes. And one thing I always like to also ask, I have like my favorite consistent questions, and this one is there any topic that you wanted to cover that we haven't yet, or any questions you had that you have not asked? And the same thing goes out for the general public too.
Now I'm on the spot. I don't know.
But,
uh, yeah, no, I can't really think of anything. That's pretty much all I've got going on. I have a whole bunch of pirate romantasy. Starts with book one, The Sneaky Lass. There's 7 books. It's a complete series. And then I have the next one, which is A Glorious Mess, and it's a trilogy, and it'll be out here soon. Book one's already out. Book 2 and 3 are coming in February and May, respectively. So, and then I have that Portal Fantasy. And if you are interested in reading my Portal Fantasy, then like by all means reach out and I'll add you to the ARC list so you don't lose out.
ARC readers, I love ARC readers. Y'all are all fantastic. If you are,
gosh, yes,
because they're one of the, I think, underappreciated groups sometimes, where people just expect things, and it's just like no, they're doing great things.
They are, and I'm real chill about my ARC readers. It's just like, if you want the book, I will give it to you. My whole interest form is just, especially for the Silver Locket books, there's lots of triggers, so it's just my trigger warnings list of like content, watch out, this is what's in it. And if you are cool with that, give me your email and I will send you the book. And that's kind of the whole thing. Like, you're agreeing to receive one follow-up email that reminds you to go and review it with links, and that's it. Please read my book for free.
But yeah, no, I mean, they're just, I appreciate them so much, because I wish I could be an ARC reader in theory, but I read very slow, because one, I'm reading all the time. It is my job. Reading and editing my books are my job. But outside of that, it's I read very slow, and I was like, I couldn't, and I wish I could promise to be done at a certain time. So when people are able to do that and have that kind of skill set and are able to just read through a book, whew, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're going to dedicate the last 8 minutes to. ARC readers are the bomb. I recently started doing reviews of audiobooks, and that's just because I have recently discovered audiobooks for kind of the first time. I listened to my first one in November and was like, this is my new obsession. Because I can take care of the kids while listening to my book, and I can fold laundry while listening to my book, and everything has become more fun, because it's like, yeah, I have to do the dishes, but I get to listen to my book while I do the dishes. And so I'm just generally a happier person all the time. Because audiobooks exist, and people have started sending me like free codes to their books, my author friends, so that I can listen to them and review them, which works out great because I get to listen to more audiobooks, and then afterwards it's like, and it was fantastic.
That is so cool. No, yeah, I love, and that's true. Okay, I have not utilized my author's codes for my audiobooks as much, because you get a limited number, and I stare at that number and I'm like, it's not a tiny number, it's 50. But that's it. That is all you get free, at least if you go through Audible. And so I'm like, should I be like, setting them out very, judiciously? Should I?
Yeah, right? You have to send them to people you know are good for it.
Yeah, I'm like, should I, give it do a giveaway and like do that once in a while? But again, I have a limited number, and I always forget that I have them in the end, and it's really sad. But I agree with you. I was like, audiobooks are fantastic, and it's something that when I'm listening to mine, as I'm kind of going through the approval process of converting my books, I'm like, man, I should be listening to these more often, because, kind of like you, they're great things to listen to when you're doing your chores or whatnot, or I have a dog. That's my child is a giant Irish wolfhound, so take care of the dog or whatever, and, all those kind of things. But I actually forget to actually go and buy audiobooks. So I'm still in the bad habit of that one. The fact that
there's a lot of them for free though that like nobody talks about. Is Audible will sometimes just be like, yeah, Outlander's free this week. Like, and so every once in a while I'll just search like free books, and there's usually a couple like well-known ones that are just like on free, and I'll download them for free. Or like Princess Bride was $2.99 this week. So I
Wow.
got Princess Bride for $2.99. But yeah, so I've been really enjoying audiobooks. I've also I looked into narrating my own audiobooks, as I have a background in recording.
Okay, I was
And
gonna ask that because I was like, I don't, and I could never.
um and I actually like got really into it. I bought a really nice microphone and I was ready to start. And then it's such a time commitment that I don't think I'd ever be able to write again if I recorded my own books and then worked to edit them. And so I'm right back on where I started, which is like, I'm just gonna have to wait.
Yeah, because there's pros and cons of a variety. Because there are a variety of ways to
Yes.
get your books turned into audiobook. Obviously, self narration. There's doing the 50-50 split, but you have a 7-year contract, and it potentially will hinder you if you have the dream of ever being picked up by a big publishing house. That might hinder your plans. And then but you don't have to pay for anything, which is nice also. And then you pay in full, which is expensive, but then you get the full profit margins, which are still only 40%. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it is something that I realize it does pay to get into it, but it's a heavy upfront fee. So again, these Kickstarters, I think I like this idea. Like these things that help upfront, cover some of this cost upfront, so you're not out of pocket early on. And I do see your comment about do a number of codes, give them out to guaranteed reviewers and raffle the rest. And that's what some people do. I'm just like, this is my precious. I have 50. I don't know what to do with them. Must use wisely. So I'll still have to get better about that one. But yeah, so let me ask you, because it's actually the end of a year, what was one of your favorite, and one, not of your favorite books that you have read this year that you're like, ooh, that was really cool?
Tie. I have a tie. I read White Leaf Child by Kirsha Fox, who has become a dear, dear friend to me. And it's book 2 of her, it's a high fantasy, D&D inspired fantasy, about these two friends who wake up after having been dead for a very long period of time. And in order to remain alive, they have to complete this quest. And it's high stakes, but somehow feels cozy. Beautiful covers, laugh out loud funny, really well written fantasy.
What was that called?
It's the first book is Son of Deception by Kirsha Fox, and the second book in the series is The White Leaf Child by Kirsha Fox.
Fun.
And the other one I read was Murtagh, which is the next installment of the inheritance cycle. So that's like the Dragon Riders. It's
Yeah, I have that one.
Aragon, Eldest, Brisingr, and Inheritance. And then Murtagh got his own book taking place after the events of those books. And I got to delve back. That was my first audiobook. So it was life-changing. And it's because it's like this thick.
Yes.
And I looked at that and was like, when I read these books, because they're all this thick, and when I read those books the first time, I was a teenager and I had no responsibilities and lots of time to read books. And I was like, by the time I read the end of this book, I will have forgotten the beginning and the middle. That's just my life now. And so I listened to it, and I was able to listen to it in about a week and a half and just enjoyed every second of it. Opened up a new world to me as far as audiobooks, and just super fun.
I love it. I love it. And I see a question saying, I have scribd. It's great. Can you write a title of this book? I'm not exactly sure which book you're referring to.
Let's see. Of Deception. I got Fox. Typing it out.
You're good. You know what? I've never figured out how to type on one of these things.
Let's see. Kirsha Fox and Murtagh by Christopher Paolini. Done. There.
I remember when he came out, like, he's around, I'm assuming you're around my age, but like he's around, my age, and he was 17 when he published his first one, and I was just like, you beat me to it, because I always had dreams of being a young author, and I was like, but it was also inspiring because I was like, someone young could do this. And did
it. Yeah.
And I was just like, ooh. And the fact that we were both homeschooled also added that. I was just like, ooh.
I'm a little bit younger than that. When he wrote the first one, I was about 11. And I remember thinking the same thing. It was like, I could write a book by the time I'm 17. Like,
yes.
I should get started.
Yes. But maybe he was younger than that. I think he was 15 actually. Sorry, 17.
Yeah.
I can't 15 when he was young when he came out with the first one. I was like, how old am I? How old are we? I'm aging myself right now.
I'm 30.
You okay, all know it. Years older than you. But no, that's great. And yeah, I honestly, here's a bad truth. I was so in love with Aragon and was really passionate about it, but went to college when he was publishing, I read the first two, and I went to college when he was like publishing the third one, and bought it, like freshman year or whatever, whenever it came out, and got busy, never read it, and so never bought the fourth one because I never read the third one, and so I probably should go back and start it over from scratch because it's been a long time. And I feel like I can do justice and read through it because it has been a long time.
And you can listen to it.
That's true. It's true. See, I have to remember these things. I'm such a print version person. Like, I collect print, and the sad thing is I run out of space in my house. I have my volcanoes of books ready to kind of explode and flow all over the floor because I collect prints and I don't have enough bookshelves right now. So,
I used to have bookshelves and print books, and then I had 2 under 2, and I actually took them all down and donated every single one of my books. And now I have some floating bookshelves around my room, and I have about 30 books, but I've become like an almost exclusively ebook person. A book has to really impress me to be like, you can fit on one of my 3 floating shelves.
Fair enough. I'm enjoying right now with the book talk community, meeting other authors and collecting signed copies of other people's stuff. And so I do have this like habit of like, when I get a signed copy from another author, I'm like, must have them all signed.
Must have them all signed.
New goal in life. Get all the signed books in the world. I
appreciate Book Talk's addiction to signed books. I was never a big like, but I want it signed person until I came to Book Talk, and people really showed me the value of that. Be like, no, I want it signed. It's like a status symbol. Yeah. It means that they touched it. Like,
I actually, one of the authors who gave me one recently did this very smart thing for a series run of his signed copies. He did one of, and he actually told you like exactly for that series run which one you got, which makes it even more collectible because you're like, ooh, I was from the first print of this.
Oh.
I got, book number 6 of this run.
Wow.
And it's like, it gives you that extra, that's a very art community thing to do when a print run, but I was just like, ooh, that's smart too. People like to collect things.
Yes. We're all ravens collecting the shiny things.
Exactly. Well, since we've hit the hour and my voice is starting to get scratchy, which is a sign that I've always hit the hour, it's like almost like on the dot. It happens like every time. I don't know if I ever had to do a long live, I probably would be like voiceless. And I blame this on the fact that because I'm a writer, it's a very solo job, and so I don't talk a lot to people unless I'm doing stuff like this. And so one of the reasons why I love this, because I'm a very extreme extrovert, so it's nice to be able to see a living person.
See, I talk all day. I'm not tired at all. I talk all day to a tiny human who just pesters me constantly. So it's nice to talk to a grown-up.
But you can have some great conversations with the tiny human. It will be some that probably you would never expect, but could inspire something in the future. You never know.
You never know.
Well, thank you for coming out and hang out with me this Sunday, and thank you for everybody who's been listening. And again, I do these weekly. If you ever want to jump back on and do another one of these, because you really, I'll blink and you'll have another 8 out, and I'll be like, man, it's been a while.
We'll do it again next December, and I'll have 4 more books.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But yes, we should reconnect and we should see and motivate each other to moving wide. And I'll pester you on how your Ingram is going. And you can ask me, because I'm terrified, because I've always heard that it's a larger learning curve to get onto that. So I've been so hesitant.
I'm actually on Ingram and all set up. I just print my books for me through Ingram, so that it was before Amazon had the where you could order print copies before they released. I would put them onto Ingram and not distribute them, just print them. And that way I could always have them before release day.
Yeah, I like that. And you're not the only one. I've heard a couple people use that route, which it's nice, because I'm like, I don't know. Who do you like? Do you like, here, let me ask. And sorry on either side, whichever one's the lesser. But which print company do you like more? Do you like Zahn's Print House or Ingram Sparks? I've heard some people like one more than others, but they just depending on the author. Excuse me.
I think that, so KDP prints, their book is thicker, their paper is better quality. If you go through Ingram, you can get the exact same pound paper. It's like 60 pound, whatever. And it's thinner. And you can see through the pages, like Bible paper, where you can see the print on the page on the other side. And I really don't like that, but that's only with their white paper. With their cream paper, it's thicker and nicer than the white paper. Not sure why. So generally I like KDP's better, because my books, you can't see through the pages. They just feel a little more substantial. But Ingram Spark, and their shipping is more expensive. Yeah. And their printing is more expensive. So there's that too. Every penny counts when you're an indie author. And if it costs, $20 to ship books instead of $8 to ship books, that digs in. And so I usually prefer to go through KDP, but I'll go through Ingram and it's always been fine. It's just I know to print with cream colored paper with them.
One's faster than the other, because my big thing with KDP is I ordered a batch of books to restock my new shop back in the middle of November. They're not going to come till close to the new year when I'm out of town. And I'm like, because it kept getting pushed back for their printing, probably because they're pushing up, they're valuing the print on demand with holiday rush orders. And I get that to an extent. On the other hand, I'm like, I've been waiting for over a month now, and I'm still have a few weeks to go before they deliver. And I'm like,
I think typically they're about the same.
Yeah, okay.
But during this Christmas time, I would agree, it's slower to go through KDP. Ingram's remains consistently 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Whereas KDP, it's like you said, sometimes it's what do you mean it's going to take another 12 days? You guys have had this order for a month.
Yep. Okay, so it's not just me. Just asking, because that was my only thing. I was just like, this is rather annoying. I have been waiting. And the funny thing is, I get these notifications you're out of stock with these items. I'm like, I know. I'm waiting. I would restock it if I could.
My KDP is a little bit different. They actually print the books in my town. So I usually get mine pretty quick. If every once in a while they'll print my books in Orlando, Florida and ship them here. And I'm like, that was silly. I don't know why you would do that, but they have a printer right here in Middle Tennessee where I live. And so sometimes somebody will see that in wherever they are and be like, oh, this person lives down the street. Let's just print it. And so I'll get my books 2 days later, out of nowhere. But it's a complete fluke. Sometimes somebody sees that and prints them right away, and sometimes they don't.
Well, thank you for answering that, because again, those are the things I have to think about. Which way going forward is the best value, and value being time as well as money, as well as energy and all this stuff. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. But let me say one more time, thank you for joining me, and congrats on your first completed series and now your spin-off series and your future standalone Portal Fantasy to go along with your Pirate series. So this is so cool.
Thank you.
And what maybe we should do this because I do have a Portal Fantasy series. Maybe we should get a couple authors together and do a Portal Fantasy bundle release because that would be fun.
Agreed. Like a big like we could all give away a book.
Yeah.
We could all like get people involved.
Yeah, I love that. The things to think about, things to think about. Now I have to like pay attention to what other authors also do Portal Fantasy because we're out there. But
I was gonna say I know at least one more. I think Jay Hauser does a Portal Fantasy. There's a couple I can think of.
Okay. Cool. Okay, 2024. Not something I'm going to think about until the new year.
Yeah, go on vacation. Have a nice time.
Yes, and for everybody who's been listening, happy holidays, and I will see you live again in the new year.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.